Hello, all my YouTubers, all my peeps out there in the chat room, all my folks that'll be viewing it later on Memorex, and all my lurkers that hang around. Glad to have y'all with us today. It's a overcast day here in Indiana with a little breeze going. It's got a few branches are twitching on the trees and the leaves are swaying, so we're having a pretty nice little blow going on here. To warm up some today, and then again tomorrow be pretty warm, up around 90 degrees. I don't know how long this good, nice, hot weather is going to hang on for us. Here we are in September, on the 6th day of September 2016. I've been kind of lazy here this morning. I stayed up too late last night, so I haven't got a whole lot done, but I'm wanting to get some weaving done this afternoon. I've got a shawl on the loom that I'm working on. Not a whole lot going on here at the hacienda. I did want to let y'all know that tomorrow will be a pre-recorded show. I've got an appointment I have to take care of tomorrow, so right in the doggone middle of the week, we're going to pre-record one, and then I'll be back live on Thursday, but the news will be here for you. Just not going to be any chat room tomorrow, so see what I bring to you tomorrow. But today we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I'll just hop on into it and tell you what I've got here. If I can get the websites to cooperate with me. Oh, this technology is wonderful. This one's not wanting to work real fast, but maybe it'll come up here. Let's see. Yes, it's going. My goodness. Okay, this is off of infosecuritymagazine.com. And it says here, if we can get it to scroll up a little bit, Project Sarin on governments for 5 years. And I hadn't heard about this, so I thought it might be something that y'all would be interested in. This Project Sarin, the sophisticated information exfiltration malware, has been spying on government computers and computers at major organizations for over 5 years. According to Commodore, to boot, there is very real possibility that a government-sponsored group is behind it. Project Sarin, and that's spelled S-A-U-R-O-N, so-called because of the reference to Sauron, the main antagonist, and J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It is, or in its source code, was first detected reportedly on an unspecified government network last September. And like the evil Tolkien, it appears to be all-seeing. To steal passwords, encryption keys, configuration files, and plus it logs keystrokes and opens backdoors for hackers to take control of the system or network. Subsequent probes revealed that the malware was present in many other networks, researchers said in a blog. Project Sarin has been found in the networks of at least 30 organizations. This includes government networks and strategic ones like networks of military, financial, and telecommunications organizations. Reports say that the malware has been detected in China, an embassy in Belgium, and an unidentified organization in Sweden. Noted that Project Sarin uses strange executable file that claims to be a Windows password filter. User would log on to enter a password. This executable would start up, and unlike usual malware, it appears differently on different systems and networks. And is a malware that almost impossible to detect. Researchers noted the malware doesn't leave behind telltale signs that other malware would, and thus it becomes rather difficult to identify other infections. The creator of Project Sarin sure that no two infections are similar and that two infected systems create the same software artifacts. It is also able to disguise itself in many ways. Like, for example, as files with names similar to those published by Microsoft, the method of sending data back to the hacker also is not the same always. This would baffle researchers who are constantly looking for patterns. But wait, it gets worse. Project Siren can get through some of the most extensive firewalls too, and can infect systems which are air-gapped or not connected to the internet. Here, the entry is made possible through specifically prepared USB drives, which would appear to be like the usual mass storage devices, but would also contain a hidden partition with a system, which makes possible the transfer of data from air-gapped systems, Commodore said, adding that this attack may be done by making use of some unknown and undiscovered zero-day vulnerability. The vulnerability angle is just speculation and is yet to be confirmed, they added. So there you have that. Man, I tell you what, that's kind of scary. Just being used on governments at the present time, but how long is it going to be before that's, or is it there now? You don't have any privacy at all for anything anymore. The next thing we have here is off of the Wall Street Journal. To cut 7,000 back office store jobs. And give me the article here. The Walmart Stores Incorporated plans to cut thousands of back office positions around the country, a sign that retailers' efforts to make its cavernous stores more efficient is also changing the face of the largest private employer in the U.S. is eliminating about 7,000 store accounting and invoicing positions over the next several months. The jobs are mostly held by long-term employees, often some of the highest paid hourly workers in stores. Those employees working with shoppers, not in back rooms, say company executives. Centralizing or automating most of their current task is more efficient, they say. The jobs are coveted as rear desk jobs in retail. You are not on your feet all day and receive decent pay, said a Walmart store accounting employee who earns about $13 an hour, 27. Everybody wants to get in there. The jobs never open up, said this person who has worked at the store for 9 years. The back office cuts to Walmart's 4,600 U.S. stores. Retail workers, one of the largest employee cohorts in America, face big changes as their employers spend heavily to compete with Amazon.com Incorporated and grab other chains. The positions Walmart is eliminating manage an individual store's daily cash flow or process claims from manufacturers delivering goods directly to stores, among other tasks. Starting early next year, much of that work will be handled by central office or new money counting cash recycler machines in stores. Walmart tested the change in about 500 stores earlier this year. Most displaced employees will find customer-facing roles. Deisha Barnett, a Walmart spokeswoman, we've seen many make smooth transitions during this pilot, she said. Employees facing cuts could see their salaries go up or down in a new position, she said. Store workers at Walmart and other retailers are being asked to work differently as retailers adjust to industry changes. Walmart rapidly expanding service that lets shoppers order groceries online and pick them up curbside. That requires employees to pull produce off shelves, pack orders them to a customer's car. Jobs that didn't exist at Walmart 3 years ago. Walmart is also doing more self-stocking during the day rather than overnight to put more employees in contact with customers. Walmart is spending billions to e-commerce sales and make stores more efficient and pleasant places to shop while reducing inventory and raising wages. Last year, the retailer lifted its store employee starting wage to $9, or about $18,700 a year employee. As of earlier this year, new hires can move to $10 an hour after completing a 6-month training program. Said it planned to purchase discount online retailer Jet.com Incorporated for $3.3 billion. While Walmart's online sales have been sluggish, comparable store sales have risen for 8 straight quarters, outshining many competitors struggling to compete for recession-weary customers or online shopping converts, including Target Corp and Costco Wholesale Corp, are also raising starting wages. In the wake of those investments in the workforce and online efforts, retailers are making other cuts. Anytime one expense line goes up, you are likely to see a reduction in a corresponding expense line, said Joel Beiners, co-head of consulting firm Alex Partners LLP's retail practice. Any dollar not being spent on delivering a better experience to the customer or delivering the customers online is a wasted dollar, he said. A typical Walmart Supercenter employee, employs hundreds of people, from cashiers and cart wranglers to store managers who oversee around $100 billion in annual sales in a busy location. The many small towns and rural areas with Walmart, the store can be one of the largest employers. My resume together, said one Walmart employee who works in invoicing, earning about $15 an hour. After almost 21 years with the company, the employee said she isn't interested in moving back out to the store floor. Here you have Walmart's next move. Next one that we have here, off of WND.com. All of these URLs, by the way, are in the description of the video. So if you'd like to read up on some of this stuff yourself or research some things, there's videos in some of these if you'd like to take a look at them. I have here off of WND says, epic, Hillary suffers 2 violent coughing fits. Labor Day has brand new meeting for Hillary Clinton as the Democratic presidential nominee labored through a severe coughing fit during a speech in Cleveland, Ohio, then suffered a second coughing attack later in the day during a press conference on her plane. It was just moments after Mrs. Clinton was introduced by her running mate, Tim Kaine, that she went into the first coughing episode at Luke Easter Park. Attention away from the coughing, Mrs. Clinton quipped, "Every time I think about Trump, I think I'm allergic." Video clip in this of her having her coughing fit. If you feel so inclined, you need to see it. It says it was epic. One viewer who watched the coughing live told WND, she's struggling to get words out, tweeted Monica Alba. Some people in the crowd reportedly began shouting, "Get her some water," and Clinton did have a glass of water with her at the podium. She also inserted a throat lozenge. Then later in the evening, Clinton had boarded her plane and was taking questions from reporters in a press conference broadcast live on Fox News. At one point, she begins coughing, gets water from a staffer, and then says, "Excuse me." At this point, Fox broke away from the press conference and went back to the studio. And they got a video of that coughing fit too, if you want to see it. Not only has Hillary experienced several bouts with uncontrolled coughing while on the campaign trail this summer, but she has also been seen with unexplained brain freezes where she stumbles over her speech and appears to lose her train of thought. What do you think? Will Hillary's health problems impact the presidential race? And then it says, Clinton's health has long been a topic of concern, falling to reports of blood clots to special glasses that she used during the Benghazi congressional hearings. On February the 12th, WND reported Hillary's health problems included the concussion Hillary Clinton suffered on December of 2012 that led to a serious blood clot requiring hospitalization, may also have caused her to suffer post-concussion syndrome, including confusion, headaches, and dizziness. But those incidents happened before she formally entered the presidential race. First time a coughing fit has disrupted a Clinton campaign speech. During her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention last July in Philadelphia, Clinton was reported to clear her throat 22 times. The Daily Wire reported that Clinton appearance to have deliberately timed her throat clearing during manufactured applause directed by Clinton's convention managers. 4th, WND reported Hillary Clinton has been prescribed Armour Thyroid, a natural medication made from desiccated pig thyroid glands for her hypothyroid condition, and Coumadin, a brand name of a warfarin, which initially was developed as a well-known rat poison for her congenital tendency to form blood clots. WND also reported the medication Hillary has taken since 1998 to deal with her blood clotting problem may have side effects that are hazardous to her health, including blurred vision and confusion, both of which she has experienced. And a California physician warned Coumadin could be more life-threatening to her than the possibility of a recurring blood clot. Bill Clinton, during a question and answer session at the Peterson Foundation in Washington on May 14, 2014, told the audience that the concussion Hillary suffered required 6 months of very serious work. On November the 16th of 2015, in an exchange between Hillary Clinton's aides, Huma Abedin and Monica Hanley, 26, 2013, regarding Clinton's schedule, the aide said that it was very important to go over phone calls with Clinton because the former Secretary of State was often confused. Clinton's 5-minute bathroom break at the third Democratic debate in Goffstown, New Hampshire, on December the 19th, 2015, initially attributed to the distance of the woman's bathroom from the stage, was reported to have caused a flare-up of problems from her brain injury that required Clinton to sit in a chair off stage to recover from fatigue, dizziness, and disorientation. WND just last week reported that at least 10 prominent physicians have been questioning Hillary Clinton's health. This goes on with information from some of these doctors and stuff if you want to read up on that. I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on this. On one hand, okay, the woman had a couple coughing fits. She's done a lot of talking. That's bound to take its toll on your throat and all. But on the other hand, she is running for president. And if she can't present herself in a campaign in a professional manner and have her health under control for the campaign, what's she going to do if she was to be elected? And how's she going to represent the nation? Imagine her in talks at some of these big foreign summits, and she can't talk to these people. She can't deal with them without having coughing fits, and her speech is confused, and I don't think she's in any physical shape to, hey, time's going to tell, won't it? How this pans out. Next one that we have here is off of thehill.com. And I'm waiting for it to come up here on the screen. There it goes. Obama's use of clemency power sparks criticism, it says. And we'll get this to scroll up a little bit. Maybe. Okay, it's slow to react. It says President Obama's aggressive use of clemency power is stirring controversy. Obama is on track to commute the most sentences by a president since 1929, but unlike his actions on immigration and healthcare, it's not whether he has the authority to reduce prison stays that's drawing criticism. He's helping. We're very concerned, said Steve Cook, president of the National Association of Assistant U.S. Attorneys. What is happening is he's undoing a lot of work we've last 2.5 to 3 decades doing. So far, Obama has commuted 673 sentences, with 325 coming in August alone. P.S. Ruckman Jr., a political science tracking the data, said Obama is likely to eclipse Calvin Coolidge, who commuted 773 sentences. Woodrow Wilson holds the record with 1,366 commutations. There's more coming before he leaves office, Ruckman said. It's just a matter of how many. Non-violent, or only non-violent, low-level offenders who have served at least 10 years of their federal sentence and demonstrated good behavior was clemency initiative. Inmates cannot have a significant criminal history or history of violence prior to or during their imprisonment. Cook argues those requirements aren't being met. In the last few rounds of Cook said one inmate was the leader of a drug ring that trafficked in over 10 tons of cocaine. 6 had previously been convicted pins, and others had been convicted of possessing a sawed-off shotgun. Cook was referring to Ralph John Franklin Banks, Corey Lyndall Blount, Rudy Martinez, Danielle Dwayne L. Comer, Dewan Croxcree, and Alfonso Allen. The trend seems to be they get worse and worse, Cook said. To say we're concerned would be an understatement. Cook's claims, an official with the White House said the president does not condone violence of any kind, but believes individuals who have truly paid their debt to society and demonstrated a commitment to not repeating past mistakes should be given a chance to earn their freedom. They then noted that individuals who receive face the same restrictions on purchasing firearms as other convicted criminals. Obama's commutations are playing out against the backdrop of a broader debate about criminal justice reform. Democrats and some Republicans in Congress have pushed to roll back mandatory minimum laws, arguing they have created a crisis of over-incarceration. But opponents of ending mandatory minimums in Congress and some law enforcement groups like the National Association of Assistant U.S. Attorneys say mandatory minimums have helped to reduce crime and should remain in place. With criminal justice reform stalled in Congress, Obama has taken matters into his own hands. The White House says the president is using clemency authority to help people who deserve a second chance. People like Ramona Brandt, who was charged for the first time nonviolent drug offense in 1995 and sentenced to life in prison. She served 20 years before receiving clemency in 2015. Sherman Chester, years of his life sentence for a nonviolent drug offense before Obama commuted his sentence in 2015. With 2.2 million Americans behind bars, the commutations Obama has granted are a drop in the bucket, especially when compared to those who've been denied. Ruckman said Obama has denied 10,968 commutation requests so far. As of August 11th, there were 11,000 petitions still pending. Has used his power to reduce unfairly long prison stays. Ruckman said he is leery of the president's late embrace of the clemency power. I'm very wary of the fact that he's doing this last-minute fashion, he said. That's when things go wrong. I think it's a legitimate concern to be worried the proper vetting will not take place. Kevin Ring, vice president for Families Against Mandatory Minimums, said it took time to create the process and gather the necessary resources that start properly vetting inmates after Obama announced his clemency initiative in 2014. The pipeline has been created, so you'd expect more to be coming through, he said. Former Attorney General Eric Holder reported that at the time that the initiative would impact as many as 10,000 inmates. The fact that the numbers are less than people thought they would be shows a level of prudence and careful consideration, Ring said. FAMM is one of the organizations helping to vet potential clemency candidates. King said it's an intensive process that includes interviewing court and prison records and checking with the prosecuting attorney. Everyone wants to make sure these go to the most deserving people who will not threaten public safety, Ring said. And if the numbers are more modest than originally floated, I think that's a product of it being hard to do. Conservatives have criticized Obama for only focusing on one class of inmates, drug offenders. News Virginian in August, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Representative Bob Goodlatte, Republican of Virginia, said the president's actions were not as the founders intended, an exercise of the power to provide for exceptions in favor of unfortunate guilt. Obama is using the power to commute sentences to benefit an entire class of offenders who were duly convicted in a court of law. Not to mention, his actions are a blatant usurpation of the lawmaking authority of the legislative branch. There's no limit on the president's clemency authority, and called Gulates strange. The criticisms we've heard have been peculiar, he said. To hear Republicans say it's his authority, but he's using it too much, it's to do it or it isn't, and it is. So there we have that. We have here is off of the Washington Post. Trump reveals how he would force Mexico to pay for the border wall. Donald Trump says he would force Mexico to pay for the border wall as president by threatening to cut off the flow of billions of dollars in payments that immigrants send home to the country, an idea that could disseminate an economy and set up an unprecedented showdown between the United States and a key regional ally. In a two-page memo to the Washington Post, Trump outlined for the first time how he would seek to force Mexico to pay for his 1,000-mile border fence, which Trump has made a cornerstone of his presidential campaign and which has been repeatedly scoffed by the current and former Mexican leaders. The proposal would jeopardize a stream of cash that many economists say is vital for Mexico's struggling economy. But the feasibility of Trump's plan is unclear both legally and politically, and it would test the bounds of the president's executive powers in seeking to pressure another country. Said that he would threaten to change a rule under the USA Patriot Act anti-terrorism law to cut off a portion of the funds sent to Mexico through money transfers, remittances. The threat would be withdrawn if Mexico made a one-time payment of $5 to $10 billion to pay for the border wall, he wrote. It's an easy decision for Mexico, Trump said in the memo on campaign stationery emblazoned with Trump again. After the wall was funded, Trump wrote transfer payments could go to flow into their country year after year. He gave the memo to the Post in response to a written question provided to him before an interview last week. Nearly $25 billion was sent home by Mexicans living abroad in 2015, mostly in the form of money transfers, according to the Mexican Central Bank. Trump said that the majority of that amount comes from illegal aliens. But that figure includes cash from around the world, not just the United States. In addition, Government Accountability Office reported in January said it's difficult to track how much money Mexican immigrants working illegally in the United States are sending versus money sent by those working legally. Complication in Trump's remittance proposal is that he also wants to deport all 11 million immigrants living illegally in the United States, many of whom come from Mexico. President Obama sharply criticized Trump's remittance proposal Tuesday and told reporters at the White House that the foreign leaders are prepping him with questions about some of the wackier suggestions coming from Trump and his main Republican rival, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Example of something that is not thought through and is primarily put forward for political consumption, Obama said. The motion that we're going to track every Western Union bit of money that's being sent to Mexico, good luck with that. Cristobal Alex, president of Latino Victory Fund, blasted the idea as very dangerous and unrealistic proposal. This was nothing but another attack against immigrants that would have devastating consequences for Latinos and Americans overall, endangering our economy, our democracy, our foreign policy, and security, Alex said. Throughout the campaign, Trump has claimed that he could build his proposed U.S.-Mexico barrier for about $8 billion, a figure that experts have described as dubious because of the costs and other obstacles to building a lengthy, impenetrable concrete barrier jurisdictions. Trump's proposal to pay for such a wall is also fraught with challenges. Although there is a shortcut in the Administrative Procedure Act that allows for interim regulations that take effect immediately without going through the regular public notice and comment process, there are limitations on that authority. Based on the process for changes laid out in the Federal Register, Trump, as president, could potentially involve a change by making the argument that illegal immigration is an emergency that must be addressed immediately or is a threat to public health or safety. But such a rule would presumably apply to limiting wire transfers, canceling visas, or raising visa fees, limiting immigration. That can make it harder for Trump to argue that any of these criteria meet the exceptions, according to some experts. After reviewing Trump's proposal, one expert on immigration law said he is skeptical. Trump is giving an extremely broad definition of this section of the Patriot Act and it'd surely be litigated, said Stuart Anderson, executive director of the National Foundation for American Policy, a nonpartisan think tank in Virginia. It would be a large expansion beyond what the text reads. Anderson said Trump memo also leaves unaddressed how normal financial transactions across borders would be affected and whether there would be an overly aggressive federal intrusion into the growing number of financial transactions that take place over the internet. Line compelling Mexico to pay for the wall. The memo is a Republican presidential frontrunner to offer more specifics about his proposal at the time when he faces tough headwinds, including a loss to Cruz on Tuesday night in Wisconsin's Republican primary. Roll this up a little bit. There we go. The memo includes rationales for a number of potential intimidation tactics, including increased trade tariffs, the cancellation of visas, and higher fees for border crossing cards. Trump's approach is focused on remittance of illegal immigrants, which he argues as to Mexican economy stability and are a way of pressuring the country to disperse billions of dollars to the United States fund construction of this wall. Trump's official immigration plan, released last year, featured a pledge to impound all remittance payments from illegal wages and to hike fees on temporary visas, among other actions, but it did not go into further detail. And there's more to this if you want to read the rest of it. I felt it was kind of important to bring this up because he went to Mexico last week and they laughed at him and told him that they wouldn't be paying for this wall. Get out of the money being transferred from America to, I think they would be paying for the wall. It would be a matter of whether it's legal to actually do that or not. But he at least has an idea. That's more than I see the rest of them doing, leaving the borders wide open. Is naturalnews.com. Chaos will erupt across America in less than 100 days, no matter who wins the election. This reads, it says, the clock is ticking for America. There are 7 days remaining until the presidential election, and after the results are counted, America will be a tinderbox ready to explode no matter who wins. What follows is an educated analysis of the political friction now escalating in America. Note carefully that nothing in this article should be construed as any intention to call for violence of any kind. I do reference such acts, however, as part of human history, as well as likely outcomes in our near future. Here is an analysis and a warning, along with a call to prepare for what's coming. If Trump wins, the left goes full terror. Publicly predicted numerous times over the last year, if Donald Trump wins, the radical extreme leftists go on violent rampage that leads the rest of us begging for martial law. After half a dozen cities burn with riots and looting, Trump invokes a national emergency, deploying National Guard troops across the most devastated urban areas, and finds itself in a shooting war with the government. If Hillary Clinton wins, all the Trump supporters who have been violently assaulted, spat upon, and physically attacked by the radical left unholster their concealed weapons and start shooting back. This quickly escalates and opens into warfare between lunatic leftist Hillary supporters and armed Trump Second Amendment people who basically figure they've got nothing left to lose anyway, so why not fight to save America? And this was all pointed out in an insightful reader comment posted to the burning platform on August the 29th. Donald Trump, the plan of political elites has been provoked violence and blame it on him, thus scaring the normal populace. There were roadblockings, the threatened riots, the canceled events in Chicago and Cincinnati, the beatings, the police ordered to look the other way, the screaming harassment and physical attacks on Trump supporters as they leave his rallies, the spitting, the intimidation, the thrown eggs, the shoves and punches, the cars blocked and damaged, the hats snatched off people's heads, stomped on, and then burned on the ground. The people who support Trump are increasingly well armed and increasingly seething with justifiable rage. For now, they hold back. Donald Trump himself has repeatedly observed that the safest place in America for anti-Trump protesters is at a Trump rally, and that is true. For now, except for the one old cowboy who punched out the protester as he was an octogenarian outlier. Why is this facility in the face of clear provocation? It's because Trump supporters understand that any retaliatory violence now will be instantly, widely, and incessantly portrayed by the harsh mainstream media as proof that Trump is dangerous and Trump's movement is violent and Trump invites violence. So his supporters endure the abuse. They endure the spittle. They endure the shoves and the punches. They endure the theft of their possessions. They endure the damaged cars and the incessant harassment. For now, the sake of the political movement and the candidacy of Donald Trump, they do not strike back. But what happens after the election? It matters not who wins. If Hillary Clinton is elected by hook or by crook, the mass movement harnessed by Donald Trump will be free to respond to physical attacks. If Donald Trump wins the presidency, there will be similarly no reason to continue to endure physical attacks and humiliations by the street thugs. Whether Trump or Hillary Clinton is in the White House, there will be no reason to hold back. Hundreds of millions of guns across America are now in the hands of people who are fed up with being stomped on, ridiculed, and marginalized by corrupt leftist regime that's destroying America. Do the math on this one. You got 44% of the U.S. households that now own guns, and not just one gun each, but several different types of guns. Over the last 8 years, President Obama's anti-gun rhetoric has resulted in the largest surge of gun sales to private citizens ever recorded in American history. Of Obama's criminal efforts to try to destroy the Second Amendment via false flag operations such as Operation Fast and Furious, more Americans than ever now own battle rifles such as ARs, AKs, and PTR 91s. People bought these guns for a reason, and they sure didn't just get them to turn, or just tongue-tied, and they sure didn't buy them just to turn them over to a corrupt criminal government. The reader comment continues. Whatever happens after this presidential election, it will have been unleashed by the corporate elites and their servants in the media elsewhere. They will be responsible for blood in the streets, and many will cheer it. Author is saying, essentially, America is quite likely just 70 days away from the start of the next revolution, or even events that could escalate into civil war. A Hillary victory would set off an immediate popular revolt. If Hillary wins the election, it's hard not to imagine some sort of popular revolt across America as citizens reject the obvious criminality and corruption of not just the Clinton crime family, but also a complicit mainstream media. The same media that has funneled millions of dollars into the Clinton Foundation also intentionally downplays all the Clinton scandals. The entire system is a corrupt, incestuous mess that benefits the deceitful plutocrats whom the voters are sick and tired of seeing remain in power. As world history teaches us, a tiny fraction of the American people marching on Washington to overthrow the corrupt regime and install a new interim government while arresting the mainstream journalists and calling for new open elections. So much of America is already at the breaking point now that such a move would very likely enjoy widespread support from the population at large. Such actions are far more common than you might suspect in other countries around the world. When the masses reach their limit on corruption and criminality, the highest levels of government, history has shown they frequently march on the Capitol, arrest the traitors, and install new officials to run the government. Sometimes these people end up being dictators or tyrants who make things worse. So such actions should never be taken lightly. Revolt should only be the very last reluctant option after every legal of restoring the law has been attempted and denied. If any of this sounds surprising to you, you probably need to study world history and read about the French Revolution, the Bolivar campaign across South America, the Fidel Castro takeover of Cuba, the CIA instigated revolutions of Central and South America nations, the Cultural Revolution of China, and of course the American Revolution. If you don't know anything about history, then you have no clue how history repeats itself as human populations re-experience the same tyrannies, the same political deceptions, the same inner call for freedom that our ancestors already lived through or died for. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything we are about to experience has happened before, and the Clintons are nothing new either. They're the same old corrupt crony tyrants and sleaze peddlers we've always seen seeking power to rule over others. If Trump wins, the globalist banksters crash the debt bubble to unleash mass chaos. Now, let's shift gears and explore what happens if Trump wins the election. The day after the election results show Trump to be the clear winner, radical leftists break out the mass protests across America, but Obama is still in power at this point, and Trump won't actually occupy the White House until early 2017. For the remainder of 2016, Obama will open the borders wide open and even encourage as many illegals as possible to invade the U.S. in the final mad dash to the USA. Very soon after Trump takes office, the globalist criminal bankers will deliberately crash the global debt bubble so they can blame it all on Trump, supported by the lying, wholly dishonest propaganda media, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, etc. Global info terrorists like George Soros will call for Trump's impeachment. Trump, in turn, will likely call upon the Second Amendment people to defend America against the globalist attempts to bring it down and destroy his presidency. This situation quickly escalates into a variety of skirmishes across America, which might include many events that could seem unimaginable today. Taking over mainstream media, broadcast centers, leftists bombing federal buildings, a rash of sudden suicides of high-level Trump loyalists, organized gang assault on local police stations, the United Nations unleashing the blue helmet troops on the U.S. soil, a surge invasion of illegal aliens from Mexico during time of national vulnerability, international cyber attacks on America's power grid infrastructure, and even widespread calls for states like Texas to secede from the Union. Globalists declare open warfare against the Trump administration. All bets are off, and anything could unfold over the next few years. Expect things to get very, very nasty, desperate, and incredibly violent. Life as you know it in America is about to be disrupted in a serious way. I also predict that Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and Anonymous will all play key roles in these unfolding events, exposing mind-blowing government secrets that spur populations across many Western nations into escalating their action against the corrupt government regimes to rule over them. Much of the real war taking place across our globe right now is a cyber war, a war of secrets where the hackers and cyber active are increasingly exposing all the corruption and criminality of the governments which remain or maintain their power to consistently lying to the public and withholding the truth. And this goes on if you would like to read the rest of it. So, I'll leave this down there in the description of the video so you can read all of it. But that's the highlights of what they're predicting. That doesn't mean that it'll actually happen, and I'm not one to be a fearmonger or anything, but it's interesting to see what other people think through this election. And gives you reason to prepare. Do anything to stop it. At least we can be prepared to try to survive it. The next article I have here is off the allnewspipeline.com. Pokemon. The Russian government warns citizens to stay away from evil game with in-game connections. This is the biggest Trojan horse in history. We all know that I don't approve of this Pokemon game thing that they've got going on, because it's nothing but a spy tactic. Got people wandering around when they're running GPS on all this and mapping everything inside the homes, inside the businesses, inside of government facilities and everything else. So no, I'm not in favor of this. But here's what Russia's saying about it. It says the bizarre news story to us out of Russia from Gizmodo tells us that 22-year-old video blogger Russian Skavlovsky, I can't pronounce Russian, has been detained for 2 months before trial for inciting hatred and instilling religious feelings by playing Pokemon Go inside of the historic Russian cathedral seen in the photograph, and there's a photograph of it here in this article, with Skavlovsky below. You can also hear about this story from RT in the first video below. So, you know, if you want to see these videos, you'll have to pull it up and look at them yourself. It says, still facing up to 5 years in prison for his crimes. The story of Skavlovsky is the latest coming to us from Russia about the game that has quickly set the world on fire with record downloads, but has Russian authorities and religious leaders claiming it's evil. As was reported on Kokchu, Russian officials are flipping out about Pokemon Go and believe that it will have a destabilizing effect upon their society, so they are developing their own, more patriotic version of it. This story from Foreign Policy tells us that according to one Russian lawmaker, people hunting down Jigglypuff and Snorlax, I don't know what these things are named, through Pokemon Go, make him feel like the devil has arrived and is trying to tear out morality apart from the inside. While at first the bizarre story of Skavlovsky seems to some to paint the Russian nation as even more tyrannical than the West has suddenly become in its drive towards system collapse and global dictatorship, when we learn the reason why Russia is making these moves and is so infuriated by Pokemon Go, it all makes a bit more sense. Jailing a blogger will do nothing to stop the madness behind the games. It's clear that we're watching something sinister unfolding, as we're told below. Now, we have 100% proof that Pokemon Go has an end game connection to DARPA and the CIA, the Illuminati. And according to one Russian user, the rules of the game are quite simple. Pokemon is simple and clear. You find them, you collect them, and you make them fight one another. Sounds like something right out of playbook. Find them, round them up, and make them go to war. To the Russians, Pokemon Go is one of the greatest spy tools ever to emerge from the West via a company with links to the CIA, and is being secretly used to gather intelligence on a colossal scale. Niantic CEO John Hank in 2001, which was later bought by Google. Most of the money used to create Keyhole came from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Pokemon Go is the pinnacle of Hank's intelligence gathering career thus far. He is a New World Order intelligence operative whose career has been creating ingenious ways to spy on unsuspecting citizens and siphon the information back to the intelligence agencies. Need any more proof than that this thing is horrible? I don't know what to tell you. The ultimate sheep in wolf's clothing Trojan horse. We've been told launch of this monstrous game, the CIA has effectively recruited millions of unaware and distracted people, intelligence and surveillance operatives, gathering massive amounts of information that was previously time-consuming and expensive. Just pretend you're a government agency that wants to be everywhere at once, to see everything going on in any place and every place. Your endless surveillance cameras on every street corner and store and drones in the sky don't quite cut it. So what's better way to do so than to send an army of total distracted and completely ignorant people to go with 2 cameras and a microphone on nearly every phone, gathering data for those in control of the phones. They have a little insert here. It says, hey, Bob, we need to see inside of ABC store on West Street. The order is shouted from ex-intelligence agency operative, the other op, who quickly chimes back, you got it. Pikachu's heading over there now. To be quickly joined by their unpaid staff of countless mindless morons, non-existent augmented reality creatures wherever they go. The article goes on. It says, players of the game can be sent on a chase for rare Pokemon inside of almost any location, such as a park, tourist attractions, or almost any public building in the world, including the Kremlin, where Pokemon have been found, according to this story. And immediately, Poke Spies have immediate access to whatever intelligence the phones of the Poke sheep are seeing and hearing and collecting for them. Russians have already been found playing Pokemon Go in Red Square, and the Kremlin has warned players to stay away from Vladimir Putin's residence as well as from government buildings. China also fears that players of the game could unwittingly give up highly secretive information by the process of elimination, or if someone is actually playing the game inside of military bases or other government buildings. The game is a Trojan horse for the US and Japan. Iran has also already banned the game due to security concerns. Reported on ANP, people have been hurt, killed, robbed, fallen off cliffs, and crashed into cop cars in their mindless pursuits of a computer screen creature that doesn't even exist in real life, taking absurdity to absolutely new levels while giving spy agencies unprecedented access to huge amounts of data. Officials in the state of Maryland have called the game a possible public safety hazard, with private homes and private institutions also being invaded, quite literally putting those who want nothing to do with the game in the path of those trying to find a rare monster and turning neighborhoods into nightmares. If they've collected all of this data, why aren't they using it to round up those who are true threats to U.S. national security? Or do ISIS jihadists simply not play Pokemon? Not using this intelligence to gather information on those who want to slaughter us. Who are they gathering information on? It might be easier for some Americans to accept such activities if they knew the jihadists were being rounded up using the information, but we haven't seen any of that yet that we're aware of. This Pokemon Go is the biggest Trojan horse in the history, giving colossal access to New World Order spies and operatives across the globe, and quite literally, the devils arrived to tear our morality apart from the inside, as Russian lawmaker warned. While very disrespectful, should this Russian vlogger be getting prison time for such an offense? Do any ANP readers have family or friends or co-workers who are playing this game? If so, we'd love to hear of any experience that you've had or notified with others Pokemon Go that you think our readers would find interesting below. You know, if you want to comment on that, you can pull that that article up. They've got some comments down there that you might enjoy reading. So there you have that one on the Russians and Pokemon. Next one we have here, off of Pammy Gallagher. Pamela Geller. Good Lord. I didn't get much sleep last night. All right. Droves of African migrants in Mexico waiting asylum under secret pact. All right. Droves of African migrants in Mexico waiting U.S. asylum under secret pact. Judicial Watch, September 1st of 2016. Herds of African immigrants are being housed in shelters in the Mexican border town of Tijuana while they await entry into the United States under what appears to be a secret accord between the Obama administration, Mexico, and Central American countries, the Africans on their journey north. A backlog of African migrants is overwhelming limited shelter space in Tijuana and Mexico, and the slow pace of U.S. migration authorities in San Isidro port of entry for granting only 50 asylum solicitations a day. Details about this disturbing program come from Mexico's immigration agency, Instituto Nacional de Migración, I guess it's pronounced, and appear this week in an article published by the country's Mexico is living through a wave of undocumented Africans due to a humanitarian crisis on that continent. Saturated shelters in Tapaloocha, Chiapas, and generated pressure on shelters in Tijuana and Baja California. The news article states, the African migrants' journey begins in Brazil under the South American policy that allows free transit of migrants through the continent. Costa Rica, Nicaragua facilitate the process by transferring the concentration of foreigners toward Mexico based on an agreement that Mexico will help them gain entry into the U.S. so they can solicit asylum. The Africans are mostly entering Mexico of Chiapas, which borders Guatemala. This week alone, 424 Africans arrived at the immigration station, which is situated in Tapaloocha. Centers in Tijuana currently have 154 migrants from African countries waiting on their U.S. asylum solicitations, according to figures provided by the INM. The undocumented don't want to stay in Mexico, the news article clarifies. They want to make it territory to solicit asylum based on the life conditions that prevail in the continent. Authorities in Tijuana are offering support to migrants from Ghana, Pakistan, to facilitate entering the U.S. through the San Isidro crossing, according to the news story. San Isidro is the largest land border crossing between San Diego, California, and Tijuana. The Obama administration has done a great job promoting various backdoor amnesty programs, which include perpetually extending humanitarian measures designed to temporarily shield illegal immigrants from deportation during emergencies. As temporary protected status, or TPS, and in the last few years, migrants from several African countries have received it, so the new influx is not all surprising. Sierra Leone got TPS back in 2014 over the lingering effects of the Ebola virus, and earlier this year, Homeland Security Jay Johnson extended it. The administration cited the continued recovery challenges the African countries face for the extension. Last summer, Johnson extended a TPS for Somalians until March 17, 2017, which could have served as a driving force surge via Latin America. The Federal Register says the extension was warranted because the conditions in Somalia that prompted the TPS designation continued to be met. A substantial but temporary disruption of living conditions in Somalia due to ongoing armed conflict that would pose a serious threat to the personal safety of returning Somalia nationals, as well as extraordinary and temporary conditions in the country that prevent Somalian nationals from returning to Somalia in safety, the notice states. The Secretary has also determined that permitting eligible Somalia nationals to remain temporarily in the United States is not contrary to the national interest of the United States. So there you have that information. That's something that I didn't know until I read that article. The next one that we have here is off of WND.com. Get it to scroll for me here. Okay. If I can get the ads to shut off. Holy smoke. Okay. The source most often cited by the Hillary Clinton campaign in its effort to brand Donald Trump and his followers as purveyors of KKK values is a wealthy organization with a $300 million endowment that has no minorities among its 10 executive leaders who each make hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. It was the Southern Poverty Law Center's formulation of what it calls the alt-right that provided the grist for Clinton's attack last week on Trump in a speech in Reno, Nevada, smeared a huge swath of the Republican Party base as white supremacists who are taking a hate movement mainstream. SPLC, founded in 1971 by attorneys Morris Dees and Joseph Levin Jr., described itself as the premier U.S. nonprofit organization monitoring the activities of domestic hate groups and other extremists, including the KKK and the neo-Nazi movement, neo-Confederates, racist skinheads, black supremacists, anti-government militias, Christian identity, and others. Early on, the group made a name for itself fighting the discrimination in the South, but today it's primarily a leftist attack machine that, with the increasingly irrelevance of the KKK, has broadened its scope to attack respected organizations and opinion leaders whose legitimate policy differences put them to its right. The late left-wing Cockburn wrote a scathing column in 2009 as the arch salesman of hate mongering. Ever since 1971, U.S. Postal Service mailbags have bulged with his fundraising letters, scarring dollars out of the pockets of trembling liberals, gossed at depictions of hate-sodden America in dire need of legal confrontation by the SPLC, Cockburn wrote. But he asked, that hardly old standby, the KKK, despite the SPLC's house about an uptick in its chapters, is a moth-eaten and depleted troop, at least 10% of them on the government payroll for the FBI. These also was scorched in a 1996 letter from prominent civil rights attorney Stephen Bright, a recipient of the American Bar Association's Thurgood Marshall Award, ALU's Roger Baldwin Medal of Liberty. And a con man, wrote Bright, citing failure to respond to the most desperate needs of the poor and powerless, despite your millions upon millions, your fundraising technique, the fact that you spend much and accomplish so little, and promote yourself so shamelessly. While SPLC broadens the scope and hate label, the organization's senior executive staff a whites-only club, just as it has been every single year since the company opened for business in 1971, notes the Watchdogs blog. According to the SPLC's tax return for the fiscal year ending October 31st, 2015, 10 senior executives made more than $150,000, with these leading the way with $382,692, and President CEO Richard making $380,418. And that's in a year. 100 employees, more than $54 million in revenue for each of the past 2 years, and more than $302 million. What possible excuse can measures D's take for keeping minorities out of the company's executive suite for 45 consecutive years running? And there's more to this article if you want to read the rest of that, but you know that gives you the headlines on it. Holy smoke. things that we don't know anything about. The next one we have here I found interesting. It's off of Infowars.com, and it says YouTube declares war on politically incorrect opinions. A new advisor-friendly policy introduced by YouTube will punish those who express politically incorrect opinions or dare to offend viewers by demonetizing their content. The new rules have sparked an outcry from the YouTube community because they are so incredibly restrictive. YouTube will now retain the right to demonetize any videos that contain controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disaster, and tragedies, even if graphic imagery is not shown. Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language, is also being demonetized. YouTube's new policy will completely disincentivize YouTubers from discussing politically incorrect topics or expressing controversial opinions because they know they will be punished for doing so. Many YouTubers make a living off their channel and will therefore be walking on eggshells to avoid the company's stringent new rules. The new policy bears some hallmarks of the communist Chinese government's social credit score system, whereby internet users are punished by private companies and their peers for expressing unpopular views on social media. The move is primarily designed to scare away YouTubers from making anti-establishment political content, but prominent YouTubers are already reporting that videos on everything from acne solutions to tips on combating depression are being demonetized because they're not advertiser friendly. The channels that self-identify as vulnerable by these advertising guidelines seem to be news channels covering sensitive real-world topics, reports Kotaku. Prominent YouTube Philip DeFranco responded to the controversy by vowing, "I'm not going to censor myself," despite the fact that dozens of his videos have already been demonetized. Google-owned YouTubers, of course, a private company, and can enforce any rule it likes. But with the advent of such corporations becoming so large, more powerful than countries in some cases, in addition to them insisting on being treated as a public utility, the move is a massive stab in the back for content creators who helped build the platform in the first place. As Matt Drudge warned about when he appeared on the Alex Jones Show nearly a year ago, creators allowing their content to be swallowed up by social media ghettos was always going to lead to this outcome. I don't know why they've been successful in pushing everybody into these little ghettos, these Facebooks, these tweets, these Instagrams, Drudge told Jones. This is a ghetto. This is corporate. They're taking your energy and you're getting nothing in return. The video below sums up the impact of the new rules will have on YouTube unless they're reversed, and there is an interesting video there to watch if you'd like to see that. You can pull that URL up and take a look at it. But yeah, I've heard a lot of on YouTube complaining about that, and that is why I do not monetize this channel. The next one that we have here is off of BizPack Review. It says, "This woman stole the wrong guy's Trump sign and she paid for it instantly." I thought this was so funny. You talk about karma. Wow. Instant karma. A Northside, Indianapolis resident got his revenge on a Donald Trump for President yard sign last week. Philip, who asked that his last name not be published, said that the sign thieves have targeted him twice within the last month, with the first attempt happening within a week of posting the sign on his front lawn. "I looked out my front door and the sign was lying about 4 feet over and it was crumpled up pretty good," he told WRTV, the Indy channel. But both attempts failed because the homeowner firmly anchored the sign in place using fishing line and string painted green to match the grass. After that first attempt, he decided to go high-tech and added a video camera to the mix in hopes of capturing an image of any additional would-be thieves in the act. And it did. It depicted a thief, a woman, trying to run off with the sign only to land on her face when she ran out of string. She loses her footing and lost her grip and went flying, Philip told RWTV. He told the station that people should be able to disagree with one another, with one another's political views without resorting to criminal activity. Whether it's a Bernie or Hillary or Trump sign, you might disagree with whatever the politics are, but it's not yours, Philip said. Leave it alone. And if you want to see the video, it's pretty funny. I cannot imagine people wanting to steal political yard signs out of yards. That something about that just does not even click with me. I just can't even imagine. It takes all kinds, I suppose. But that brings me to my last one of the day, and this is an inspirational one, I think. This is off BizPack Review, and it says, boy late for class because he froze to say pledge of and prayer, and the incredible photo goes viral. It says a young Texas boy named Royce Thompson inadvertently taught a lesson on respect that people like San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick can use. In a post on Facebook, Royce's mother, Heather Nelson, explained what her patriotic son did when she dropped him off for school on Thursday. He was running to get into school because he was late when suddenly stopped. As other kids rushed around him to get into the school, Nelson noticed that her son froze in place. Royce, go, go, she told him as kids whizzed past, but he wouldn't move. As she approached, a police officer, Sibby Moore, put her hand over her heart and said, Mom, he's doing good. He stopped for the Pledge of Allegiance, and now he's praying since prayer's not allowed in the school. I said a prayer, Royce told Fox 26 before reciting his prayers. Thank you, God. Thank you for giving me a wonderful day. I couldn't believe that he acknowledged that that was a moment of, you need to stop and do the pledge, Moore said. And he did, and he just ignored all the other kids around him and kept doing it. It was awesome. The picture has received nearly 2 million people share and comment on the photo, including news team from China. This is the type of child Trump was talking about when he discussed his plans for education that would prevent future Kaepernicks. So there you have that story. A little boy that we've got adults that don't know respect. And no matter what your situation is, you should always show respect for your country, for your family, for the people that you meet and the people around you. If you don't respect yourself, you'll never have any respect for anybody else. So it starts with you. Everything always boils down to starting with you. So that's something for you to reflect on and think about today. If a little boy can stop when he's late for school and do the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer before he enters the school building because our so-called government officials have blocked it from the school building. And with that, we're going to call her quits for today, and I'll pre-record for tomorrow, so it'll be up here for you tomorrow whenever you want to view it. And I really appreciated everybody being with me today, and I hope you'll continue to view it, share it, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Y'all have a wonderful day. Plant your feet in the grass and take a breath of fresh air, balance yourself, and reflect. Bye.